Welcome to another thrilling episode of Twisted Tales from G minus Mark. Me, I am G minus Mark. So, we're going to talk about. I told a couple of stories about some rather unfortunate meetings with heroes of mine, but now I want to tell you a good one. And this was one of the most positive meetings I've ever had with anybody, to be honest. So, I'm going back. I wish I should do some research, but it's got to be 10, 12 years ago. There was the Green Bay, Wisconsin festival, which was the best music festival I've ever been to. It was a blast. It wasn't overcrowded, and it was all the bands like kind of stopped playing at 11 o'clock, and you could all just kind of chill out at the bar or talk to people, which was pretty amazing. So the lineup was incredible. I mean, I'm going to tell at some point my Glenn Barber story, but the one I want to tell is about Ferlin Husky. Now, Ferlin Husky was a huge star from like the late 40s in America through to the he had a couple of different periods. He was a Hank Williams kind of hillbilly singer. He started off as being called Terry Preston, recorded for Four Star. There's a good record I like called Cross-Eyed Gal from the Ozarks. One of my favorite records by him ever as Terry Preston is Undesired, which is this crazy suicide song. It has the most amazing lyrics, like I'm not going to remember off the top of my head now, and I'm going to digress. Anyway, I like Ferlin Husky. First time I heard him was on an LP that came out in England called Capitol Rockabilly. A track called Slow Down Brother, real Hank Williams style, kind of early 50s sound. And I was excited to see him, and he would have been pretty up there. I mean, probably mid 70s then, or early 70s, I forget. He wasn't in the best of health. But I've been there, I can't remember first day, second day, and it wasn't a super busy place, and I'm just kind of walking along, and I spot obviously Ferlin Husky at the bar, and he's recognizable because I'd seen pictures of him in his later years. He had kind of a Charlie Rich gray, kind of slightly curly hair, and he was wearing a kind of a later style Western suit, and he was at the bar talking to some ladies his age. I thought, that's got to be Ferlin Husky, and I kind of walk up. I say, "Excuse me, I don't wish to bother you people, but would you be Ferlin Husky?" And he said, "Why, yes, I am." And he grabbed my hand and shook it really firmly. He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Oh, my name's Mark." I said, "It's great to meet you. Been a fan, blah, 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 blah." And he was really engaging. At one point, I did my Simon Crumb. I said, "Mate, may you also be Simon Crumb?" I did it better than that. Simon Crumb? It's not going to work. It's like trying to remember the lyrics. But anyway, he was laughing. He was super friendly. And he said, "These are my guests." I think he was with Leona Williams. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember. And he introduced me to her, and a couple of people had gone there with him. And he's kind of like, "This is Joe, and he does this," or whatever. And he, the whole time he's being super interested in me. What's your name? Where do you live? What do you do? Where do you work? All this kind of stuff. Really engaging. And, I excused myself, and I thought, wow, what a really charming guy. So a few days go by, and I did see him play. He was good, but he was having problems with his heart, I think, and he couldn't do any fast songs because of his breathing, which is kind of sad. But his voice was great. I was watching him, and I think Miriam Linner and Billy Miller were stood next to me, so I'll always remember that as well. And I digress. A couple of days later, I walk past the same bar, and he's there, and I hear, "Mark!" Look over, it's Ferlin Husky. Wow, how did he remember my name, And I walk over, and he's entertaining a few people, and he says, "Ron, Fred, Jill, I want you to meet Mark. He lives in Oregon. He's currently here with his friend Barney, and they've driven here. And he told the whole story, and what I did, and where I lived, where I worked." And I thought to myself, has he got some kind of photographic memory? But then it occurred to me, I had witnessed and been involved in that old school charm that people had to get by charisma, where you had to meet people. It was like being a salesman. It's like, when you're going to sell someone aluminum siding or aluminium. And you say, "Oh, how is your dog there? How's little Joey? And is little Emma still playing with that doll? Is she still called Pollyanna?" It's a way of selling things. And I bet he shook so many hands of managers and entertainers, and he had to be dynamic. And if he wanted to go back to that place, probably remembered these things. And it charmed me. And that was a really good meeting. And if ever I think of Ferlin Husky, I think, oh man, what a guy he was. So that's my Ferlin Husky, Simon Crumb, Terry Preston story. More positive. This is, should I have some kind of fancy thing for these? Minus out? Minus? I don't know.